Picture this, it's the early 20th century. Europe is a chessboard of empires, and every nation wants a piece of the action. Italy, a relatively new player on the scene, felt it was lagging behind. Britain had Egypt, France had Algeria and Tunisia. Italy looked across the Mediterranean and saw one last prize ripe for the taking, the Ottoman provinces of Tripolitania and Cyrenaica, what we now know as Libya. This wasn't just about land. It was about prestige, about reclaiming a Roman legacy, and securing what they called their fourth shore. So, in late September 1911, Italy issued an ultimatum to the Ottoman Empire. Hand over Libya, or face war. The Ottomans, already weakened and entangled in other conflicts, refused. And just like that, on October 5, 1911, Italian warships appeared off the coast of Tripoli, and the Italo-Turkish War began. The Italians expected a quick, easy victory. They thought the local population would welcome them as liberators from Ottoman rule. They couldn't have been more wrong. While the Italian navy quickly seized coastal cities like Tripoli, Benghazi, and Derna, occupying the coast was one thing, controlling the vast, arid interior was another beast entirely. The Ottoman forces were small, but they found powerful allies in the local Libyan tribes. This wasn't just a war between two empires anymore. It became a fierce struggle for national liberation. A resistance movement ignited, fueled by a deep sense of identity and a refusal to be colonized. One of the most formidable forces the Italians faced was the Senussi order, a religious and political movement deeply rooted in the Cyrenaica region. Led by figures who would become legends, the Senussi mobilized the tribes into a cohesive and determined fighting force. They knew the land, the desert, like the back of their hands. They used guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run raids, ambushes, and lightning-fast strikes that baffled the conventional Italian army. The Italians, frustrated by this unexpected and fierce resistance, responded with overwhelming and often brutal force. They brought in more troops, modern artillery, and even made history by conducting the world's first-ever aerial reconnaissance and bombing raids from airplanes and airships. Imagine being a Libyan tribesman in the desert. Seeing a flying machine for the first time, not as a marvel of technology, but as a weapon of war dropping bombs from the sky. This marked a terrifying new chapter in the history of warfare. The war dragged on for a year. The Ottoman Empire, facing rebellion in the Balkans, was forced to sue for peace. In October 1912, they signed the Treaty of Auchi, officially ceding Libya to Italy. On paper, the war was over. Italy had its colony. But for the Libyan people, the fight had just begun. The Ottomans left, but the resistance didn't. They refused to recognize Italian sovereignty. The period that followed was one of brutal pacification. The Italians, under leaders like General Rodolfo Graziani, who would later earn the nickname the Butcher of Fezzan, sought to crush the resistance by any means necessary. They established concentration camps in the desert, where tens of thousands of Libyans, mostly civilians, women, children, and the elderly, were forcibly interned in horrific conditions. Starvation, disease, and abuse were rampant. It's a dark chapter that resulted in the deaths of a significant portion of the population of Cyrenaica. They built a massive barbed wire fence along the border with Egypt to cut off supply lines for the resistance. They carried out public executions to instill fear. The goal was not just to defeat the fighters, but to break the will of the entire population. Yet, the resistance endured. The most iconic figure of this struggle was Omar al-Mukhtar, the Lion of the Desert. An elderly Quranic teacher turned brilliant military strategist, he led the Senussi resistance for nearly 2 decades. Riding his horse through the green mountains of Cyrenaica, he became a symbol of unwavering defiance against a technologically superior colonial power. He united disparate tribes and led a guerrilla war that frustrated the Italian military machine for years. His knowledge of the terrain and the loyalty of his followers made him an almost mythical figure. Omar al-Mukhtar's campaign was a masterclass in asymmetrical warfare. He understood that he couldn't defeat the Italians in a pitched battle. Instead, he bled them, harassed them, and made the cost of occupation incredibly high. His fight captured the imagination of people far beyond Libya's borders, becoming a symbol of anti-colonial struggle everywhere. But the sheer weight of Italian military power was immense. By the early 1930s, the brutal pacification campaign had taken its toll. The resistance was cornered. In 1931, Omar al-Mukhtar, then in his 70s, was wounded, captured, and, after a show trial, publicly hanged. The Italians hoped his death would be the final blow to the resistance. In many ways it was organized, large-scale resistance collapsed. But as a symbol, Omar al-Mukhtar became more powerful in death than he ever was in life. He became a martyr and an eternal icon of Libyan independence. With the resistance crushed, Italy began its demographic colonization project in earnest. Under Benito Mussolini's fascist regime, the Italian government encouraged tens of thousands of poor Italian families to settle in Libya. They were promised land and a new life on what was promoted as Italy's foreshore. New colonial towns with distinctly Italian architecture were built, and the best agricultural land was confiscated from Libyans and given to the settlers. The goal was to make Libya an integral part of Italy, to Italianize it completely. But this colonial dream was built on a foundation of oppression and would prove to be short-lived. The outbreak of World War II changed everything. Libya became a major battleground, the scene of the famous Desert War between the Axis powers, Germany and Italy, and the Allies, led by the British. Libyan exiles, including the future King Idris, joined the Allied side, fighting to expel the Italians once and for all. After years of brutal fighting that crisscrossed the desert, the Axis forces were defeated in North Africa in 1943. Italian rule in Libya, which had begun with such imperial ambition just 3 decades earlier, came to an end. After a period under Allied military administration, Libya finally declared its independence as a united kingdom in 1951. The Italian invasion of 1911 was a pivotal moment. It was a brutal colonial episode that cost hundreds of thousands of Libyan lives and forged a new, unified national identity in the crucible of resistance. The story of Omar al-Mukhtar and the fierce opposition to Italian rule is a powerful testament to the enduring human spirit and the unquenchable desire for freedom. It's a crucial part of Libyan history that shaped the nation and continues to inspire its people to this day. Thanks for watching. If you found this piece of history interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that have shaped our world. See you next time.